Welcome back to Tournament Fishing, the deck building game. I'm Greg Mailer, and in this video we're going to go over the phases of a turn and what can happen on each phase. So the very first phase that you do on your turn is called the search phase, and what you'll do in this phase is if you have any cards that have search phase triggers on them, you will be able to play them. Also, we would look at the clock deck and make sure, because a lot of times there are search phase effects on the clock deck that can trigger in this phase. In this case, this one doesn't, but if we look at the next one, it does. Discard a card to draw a card. We don't have any in our hand to do so. This phase is also optional. You do not have to play anything, even if you do have. I don't even have to do this. Discard to draw a card is also optional. There might be a case where I don't want to do that, and that's fine. What else? This is also the only phase where you can do a scan. And a scan, you will simply look at one of the piles of the lake and decide which one you want to look at. Say I'll pick this corner down here. I'll secretly look at it. The top, sorry, not the whole pile. I'll take the top card, and in multiplayer I would kind of keep it hidden, and I see that it's a 10. Sorry, what did I do? Alright. So I see it's a 10 black. And then, after I've looked at it, I will put it right back where it's at. And now I know it's there. In the scan phase as well, when you're doing a scan, if you see an event out there, you do not resolve it. You'll just know it's there. So that's about all you need to know about the scan phase. After you've completed that part of your turn, you will move into what's called the cast phase, and this is where you'll be able to play cards from your hand in order to make cast attempts out into the lake. Cast attempts are like a scan in that you're going to be picking a lake spot, looking at the top card. However, you're actually casting your lure and stuff there. So in order to do that, a couple things need to happen. First of all, you have to have a lure in your hand to start this phase. In this case, I have 3 lures, so I'm good to go. You have to play 1 lure at least, and you get to choose which one. So I could choose this minnow, or I could choose the black or the red popper, whichever one I wanted. And then optionally, I can boost it up with some more power. I look over here, say this was the clock effect. I see that it's giving me +2 in my cast phase, so I already start off with 2 angler power to start off, and so I could boost it up with the pitch to get 4 if I wanted and play it, and then I could see the pause here to get 2 more, and so I could go with that. So I could basically, in the first part of your cast phase, you're going to play all the cards you would like, and you have to play 1 lure. That's the only requirement. Is playing 1 lure. The rest of this is kind of optional. Now a cast, you can only play 1 cast, and so I only had 1 in my hand, so it didn't really matter. If I had 2 in my hand, I would have to choose which cast I want to play. And you see the cast is the type Redditor where it says pitch. The other card that you might have is, let's look in here, is a hook card. Those are colored red, and you're also only able to play 1 of those per turn. I'm going to go ahead and draw it in my hand just so I can demonstrate. The hook card is a little slightly different as well, whereas the cast and the present, which is the gray background, the present actions have no restrictions at all. You can play as many of those as you want. The lure, you can only play 1 lure, and you have to play 1 lure. So the set is a little bit different. Instead of having to commit it out here like the other cards before you cast, a set can be sort of like a reaction. I can cast over here, see what this is, and if I need some more power, I can play it to get 2 more power after I've looked. So it's a little bit more powerful in that you don't have to commit it before you cast. So After you've played everything you wanted to play, then you need to be sure that you're done. After you're done, you look at a spot similar to scanning. And so let's look at this one. We knew that one was a 10 black. So let's go ahead and make a cast attempt for here, and we're just going to take the top card and flip it over, and lo and behold, we see a 12 any color live bait. So we look at how much power we had, and I think we had 2, 4, 6, and a yellow. This thing is going to take 12 power and any color live bait lure. So our lure was okay because it could be any color, and as you see, it says live bait lure there. So we had the right lure, we just didn't have enough angler power. So we didn't attract this fish to bite. So if in that case, you just flip the fish back over, and you're doing this secretly when you're playing multiplayer. And so then you put it back and you know it's there. And then you get to make it 2 casts on your turn, up to 2 casts. So I can cast one more time, but I have to keep what I have here. I can't add anything else or swap anything out unless a card effect tells you to. And there are cards that will. The one that comes to mind is called the swivel. So if I could find it real quick, I'll just tell you what it is. A swivel allows you to swap out lures after a cast. So if I had a swivel in play, I would be able to discard it to swap this minnow out with a popper for my second cast. And the reason you might want to do that is if you didn't have the right color lure, now all of a sudden I do. But ordinarily you cannot do that. So once you've casted the second time, or the first time, you can go ahead and make another cast. So I'll put the minnow back out here, and we'll go over it here and see what it is. Oh, this is a good one to get. So this is an event card. It's called a snag, and you lose your lure from play and immediately end the cast phase. So once this happens, you lose your lure and you end the cast phase. Now it would have been our second cast, so we're going to have to end the cast phase anyway. So this one doesn't hurt us too bad, but we do lose that lure from our deck. And then once you cast into an event, you just remove it from the game. And now whatever's underneath there, I don't know what it is, but the snag is now gone from the lake though. What else? I'm trying to think if there's anything else. The other thing I wanted to say about the event is, since we're casting there, we actually resolved it, but if we had scanned there during the search phase, you don't resolve it, you just know it's there. So I just want to reiterate that. Now that I've done my 2 casts for the turn, I have ended the cast phase. The next phase is called the reel phase, and it's when you have actually attracted a fish and you have them on your line and you're trying to reel them in to the boat. But since we didn't attract a fish, we're going to go ahead and skip that this turn. However, for demonstration purposes, I'm going to find a fish that we could have done so that we can go over all these. That one we can't. Let's see. Okay, so say that we had this one here, and we had a black lure, and we have the 2 from the clock, we have the 2 from the pitch, and the 2 from the pause presentation. And that will give us up to 6 power, which is what we need for this fish, and the black lure matches with the worm. So this fish has been attracted by us, and so if we had casted there, it would have taken our bait. When that happens, you move to the reel phase immediately. So if this was your first cast, you lose your other cast because you immediately go to the reel phase. If it was your second cast, it's okay because you don't lose any of your cast attempts, but you're still going to move to the reel phase. And just to note, there are certain effects that give you more cast attempts per turn, and so even if that was your second attempt, you might have another one. And so anytime you basically hook a fish or get it to bite, you're going to lose any more casts that you have. And of course the snag would also cause that to happen since you end the cast phase immediately. Okay, so in the reel phase, in multiplayer you would say, okay, I flip the fish over, and by the way, you don't have the option of this happening. In other words, if I have enough power and I have the right lure, I have to flip it over, even if I don't want to. So it's kind of on your honor, because nobody else is going to see, but hopefully everybody's being honest. And so you're going to flip it over no matter if you wanted to or not, and then you will go into the reel phase. The reel phase, what you'll do is you look down here in the bottom left hand corner of the fish, and you see that it has, this one has 2 fight cards, the little picture down there, and so that is the picture of this deck. So let's go ahead and give it another shuffle, and basically what you're going to do is just draw 2 cards and flip them over. And this fish on this, while you're trying to reel it in, it's going to jump out of the water, and this is a blank, so it didn't do anything for the second card. You got lucky. And so all I have to do in this phase is try to counter this jump. If I don't counter this jump, this fish is going to get away, and he's going to dive back to the bottom of the spot that he came from. And so one of the things I suggest too is once you reveal the fish, that you put it on top of the pile from which he came, or the lake spot from which he came, so that in case you don't actually catch the fish, you can know which pile it came from. Keep track of that. So I'll go ahead and put it there. Now I can look in my hand over here, and in order to counter this card right here, I have to look in the top left hand corner, which shows a symbol pane on all the cards. This one has the jump, this one has the debris yellow, and this one has the boat red in the panel there. So if I discard this card here, it will match up with that green, and I have successfully countered that jump. And what that means is, since all of these are resolved, and I've countered all of them, I will catch this fish. When you catch the fish, you put it in the live well, which is basically a spot over here that you designate as your live well. And a live well is simply on the boat, and it keeps the fish alive, kind of like a fish tank that you have in your house. It has like a circulation system. It keeps them alive, because when you go to the weigh-in, they have to be alive to count in a real tournament. So it's just a somatic word. And you're going to want to turn these upside down so that nobody can keep track of how many points you have. And that's it. Now say that I could not have, let's draw one out that I couldn't have done. Let's see. Let's say that I had another jump. I'll do that. So say that I had drawn these 2 jumps for this fish. And I look at my hand. In this case, I have the yellow debris, the green jump, and the red boat on my symbol panes and my cards. And so I can't, if he jumps twice, this second time he jumps, he's going to get away. So even if I discarded that, this second jump I'm not going to be able to counter. So in other words, I'm not going to play discard any cards, because the last phase of your turn you're going to buy cards with what's remaining. So you don't want to discard cards unless you have to. So since I wouldn't have been able to catch this, I will just say, okay, he got away. And if he gets away, you flip him back over, and then you put him to the very bottom of the spot from which he came. I keep saying he, but the fish, he or she, came. And then you discard the fight cards that were used, and if any time you need to draw some more, or if this runs out, you'll just reshuffle the discard pile, kind of like you do your starting deck. What else? And that's it. That's the reel phase. There's really 2 things that can happen. You can either catch the fish, or you lose it. And in either case, I just demonstrated that. So now we can move on to the buy phase, which is the second to last phase of the turn. And in that phase, we're going to use whatever is remaining in our hand to buy cards in the bait shop row. And in this case, the money that you're going to generate is down here in the bottom left hand corner on all the cards. This one generates $1, $1, $1. All your starting cards generate $1. So I could discard all 3 of these to generate $3 and buy something. Now here's the only stipulation you got to worry about. Let's see. Let's kind of draw those. Yeah. I don't know why it's not putting in my hand. Okay. There we go. So the only stipulation about this is you need to kind of know which card you're buying. I don't just discard all my cards and generate, you know, $10 and then say, oh, I'm just going to buy the frog. It doesn't. You can't do that in this game. Whatever you discard, you have to spend, unless there's like an overage. Like if you only have 3 money, like a card that gives you $3, like this one. Oh man, I pushed the wrong button. Sorry. But this one here, it generates $3, and I wanted to buy a $2 card. You can do that, and you just kind of lose the $1. So basically, if I wanted to buy this $2 sharp hooks, I could discard the set, I could discard the popper, that gives me 2 money, and then this, I can kind of set this aside. I would have $1 left, and I can't buy anything else because everything else is too expensive. This one's 3. The cost of the card is at the top right hand corner, the little money sticker up there. That's how much it costs. So at the end of the phase, after I've bought however many I can or want to, these come into my hand, and then you're done with the buy phase. And then the last phase of your turn, finally, it's called the cleanup phase, and you're just getting it ready for the next person to go. And so you're going to refill the bait shop for them, and then you're going to discard everything you played over into your discard pile. I don't know why that didn't. Oh, it's because it's not stacked. Oh man, this is just not. Okay, so you're going to put everything you played into your discard pile, and then you're going to draw back up to your hand size of 6 cards. And if you ever need to draw some more, you're just going to flip over your deck, shuffle, and then draw any more that you need. I need 1 more. And that is the entire turn, and it took almost 20 minutes to explain that. Perhaps I should have done it, broken it down, but and so essentially you're going to do that all the way around the table, go through all of those phases, and then when it gets to the last angler over here, this guy, this green player here, then the first angler is going to discard this one, and then this is the active effect, and now it's 7 a.m. So that simulated an entire hour of all of us fishing on the lake. And then we're moving to 7 a.m. and we're going to keep going until you get to 5 p.m., which is the last hour of the tournament. And then we're going to, after the last hour happens, we are going to see how much fish are in each other's live well, compare those, and whoever has the highest wins. If there's a tie, then everybody wins. Whoever ties wins. There's no tiebreaker. So that's pretty much how it goes. There is a couple of variants you can do. You can actually shorten the tournament a little bit by a few rounds if you want to. If you don't want to play a full game, you can play like 9 rounds, 10 or 11. Let's see, I think that's it. And so that's tournament fishing, all of the phases of a turn. And I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions or concerns, you can reach out to me on Facebook or on BGG. You can see how to contact me actually in the rule book. You can find that out. So anyhow, thanks for watching. I hope that was helpful. See you later.